This is an overview of the 5K course at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, site of the Chili Pepper Cross Country Festival. And what we're going to take a look at is the course run by high school boys and girls. This is a 5K course. It takes place at the agricultural research site at the university. And the dots here will mark every 1,000 meters. You can see we do this first loop twice. And then the second time through, we're going to head out along the right side, back around the start, and then we'll turn into the finish right there. So now we'll take a look at each kilometer individually. So we start down this straightaway. We're going to turn and head up a hill. We'll look at elevation in a minute, and the first K ends right there. We're going to turn to the right, head along this pond, head back through the middle, and then the second 1,000 ends right there. And the mile marker is right there by that pond. So now we're heading on this loop again for the third 1,000, which is going to end just around this turn. And then the fourth 1,000, where we head out around those fields. And there's the 2-mile mark. And now we're headed into the 5th 1,000, back to the finish. So a couple of details that I want to take a look at here. We'll put some numbers to this course. First of all, that starting line is about 50 meters across, right there. The straightaway down to that first turn is about 300 meters. And that little junction right there, and you go through that a few times, that's pretty narrow. You're looking at about 10 meters wide. With some really well-defined edges to that course. There's a chain link fence on the left side and some trees on the right side. That's also a place, every time you go through, there's going to be a lot of spectators gathered up at that point. So that can feel a little tight as you go through there. The second place where there's going to be a lot of spectators and a lot of action is the mile marker up here. And then in the middle, this section is kind of the headquarters of the race. Podium, check-in tents, swag tent, that kind of stuff. And then Tent City is over here. And so naturally, with all that going on, there's a whole lot of spectators through there. So those two middle parts there, when you cut through, it can feel like a gauntlet. There's flagging on both sides of the course. It's probably about 5 to 10 meters wide. It can feel like a gauntlet screaming through there with a whole lot of action on both sides of the course. And obviously, everybody heads to the finish for the end of the race. They play the Chariots of Fire theme. So there's a lot of energy in the finish line of this race. It truly is a cross-country festival. So now I want to take a look at the elevation profile of the course. So here it is in gray, and we'll put some units up there. So some kilometer and mile markers, and then some altitude markers. So from lowest to highest, it's a 60-foot elevation difference on this course. And so let's follow this kilometer by kilometer. So here's the starting line and the finish line up there in the map. And so as we head out, we're climbing 20 or so feet along that straightaway. When you make that right turn is when it really becomes a hill, and you're climbing up to that 1 kilometer point right there. And you can see that's going to be our peak, the highest point of the course. When we make that turn after the kilometer, now we're dropping back down. As we pass the mile, there's a real significant drop off right after that mile as we head to the end of the 2K. And now we're on a similar elevation to the start as we head out into the third 1,000, repeating the first 1,000 basically. So exact same elevation profile. We're headed back to the highest point in the course. And now we're going to drop back down, just some 5 to 10 foot up and downs, but overall gradually headed downhill out along these fields to the 4K. And then for the 5K, a little bump, and then it's a downhill around the start, and then a gradual climb about 10 feet up to the finish line right there. I hope that gives you a good overview of the 5K course for high school students at the Chili Pepper Festival. It's a great place to race, great competition, a great course, great people running this meet. So it is a great place to compete and have fun running cross country. Have a great race.